If you've been reading all the way through the Bible or even listening to these daily devotionals, you know that there are some wonderful chapters in the Bible, and there are other chapters that describe just some very heartbreaking, painful, tragic, violent scenes. And Lamentations chapter 4 is one of the most painful chapters to read in the Bible. It's a chapter that describes in pretty good detail the horrors of the siege and eventually the fall of Jerusalem. One of the things that happened, especially in more ancient times, but it happens in even modern warfare, even in the 20th century, is one of the ways you defeat a people is you simply cut them off from a food supply so that people slowly starve to death. And that was part of what happened in Jerusalem. And in Lamentations chapter 4, if you read it, you'll see in the early parts of that chapter, the first 12 verses, it describes some heartbreaking and horrific scenes of what that starvation and death looked like. And then in verse 13, our verse for the day, it describes the sins of the leaders. It says, "It was for the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests who shed the blood of the righteous in the midst of her." That verse is trying to describe what possible reason could this terrible horror have come upon the people. And basically it goes on to say it was because of the moral failure of their leaders that Judah fell into this terrible place. Sometimes when I'm feeling sorry for myself, one of the things I kind of do to restore my sense of perspective is I kind of slap myself in the face and remind myself, you think you have it bad? And I just start envisioning other scenarios that people are living with and in at the present moment. People who don't have food to eat, people who have no roof over their heads, people who have no family and friends or community to support them or help them when they need it. People who are suffering violence and living in fear of their lives. The list goes on and on. And sometimes in reading the Bible, one of the ways it benefits us is by helping to restore our perspective. Whatever you may be facing today, I can pretty much guarantee it's not as bad as being stuck inside Jerusalem with no food, with a violent and powerful enemy totally surrounding your city, and feeling like there's no hope, and watching people die every day around you, even your children. Don't mean to be depressing, but that was the reality of the people at that time. And sometimes recognizing what other people are living with or have lived with can help us to appreciate what we have in our lives.